Hey, this is Irvin Griffin, and welcome to my podcast. Ooh, I thought I was done with this, but oh my God. Now I'll admit, in the beginning, when she agreed to do the Donald Trump inauguration, I was disappointed. But she, meaning Chrisette, Michele, I was disappointed. But at the same time, I was like, it is what it is. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But this is what Homegirl don't... Well, first, let me read what she had to say. This is from the Washington Post. Conventional wisdom might dictate that the safest response to social media backlash is good old-fashioned silence, at least until the tweets die down. R&B singer Chrisette Michele, who faced razor-sharp criticism following her decision to perform at President Trump's inauguration, is clearly not the silent type. On Monday, Michele, who last week quoted Martin Luther King to counter backlash against her, released a spoken word track called, quote, "No Political Genius," unquote, to further articulate, as I play a guy who has not sold out yet, at least not yet, a guy named Maxwell, who actually does have mainstream appeal, and some people have heard of him in the mainstream, unlike Chrisette Michele. Anyway, to further articulate her stance against the haters, including film director Spike Lee, who decided not to use Michele's music in an upcoming film because of her inauguration gig, and the Roots member DJ Questlove, who offered to pay the singer not to perform at all. No Political Genius, a nod to the hashtag of Michele's original online comeback, began thusly, quote, "I am the black song Spike Lee won't sing. I am the black voice inauguration bells ring," unquote. It goes on to allude to the black sheeps, black elephants, red rooms, God, black girl magic, the White House, and her own career path from Jay-Z's Def Jam to her own independent label, Rich Hipster. The description of the 2-minute poem posted by the singer calls for, quote, "listeners to stop bickering and stop listening to each other's point of view," unquote. The track is part of a new poetry album with which Michele, who is also described here as detesting the system and dedicated to women's rights, hopes to take a well-spoken stab at holding hands with America, and the singer plans on sparking some real dialogue. The fact that the B.O.K. Kroner, which actually that was one of her bigger hits, B.O.K. Kroner, has managed to make headlines well past the sell-by date of the inauguration controversy is likely to add bonus for Michele, who is on tour. Back in August, Michele performed some of her greatest hits, mostly from her 2007 album, I Am, which I will admit, that's probably the only album she ever made that's worth a damn, for the Obamas at a state dinner honoring the Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Wow. But, okay, here's what I take offense to right away. I'm going back to the article. It says, the description of the 2-minute poem posted by the singer calls for listeners to stop bickering and start listening to each other's point of view. The track is part of a new poetry album in which Michele, who is also described here as detesting the system and dedicated to women's rights. Okay, stop right there. If you're so dedicated to the women's rights, Miss Chrisette Michele, how come you're singing for a president who clearly disrespects women? That's just further proof to me that you did this for a check. And that this whole "you'll be the bridge" and everything, you're full of it. To me, on that note, if you would have just went and collected that check for doing the presidential inauguration and kept your mouth shut, I probably wouldn't have too much to say. Would I have been disappointed? Absolutely. Because I don't see how anybody black could perform for this. Considering they didn't even want to pick up Kanye West because he wasn't, quote unquote, and I'm paraphrasing here, American enough. Which I think the real reason they didn't pick him up is because they know he's a loose cannon. I think that's the real reason they didn't pick him up. But Chrisette, come on. And let's take even the racial stuff out of it a little bit. From a business standpoint, doing that thing for Trump was not a good move and not a good look. And the fact that you performed for the Obamas in the past, but then turn around and perform for Trump, and you're talking about you're dedicated to women's rights, and yet you perform for a man who clearly, like I said, disrespects women. Look at his own interactions with his own wife if you look closely. There is hardly no intimacy, no love. Say what you want about the Obamas. They was never shy about showing their love for each other publicly. I felt more love between George W. and his wife Laura Bush than I have with the Trumps. I don't think Trump, and I could be pretty wrong on this, but I don't think Trump is capable of loving a woman, to tell you the truth. I ain't talking about sexually. I'm talking about emotionally, being emotionally present. I think women are just playthings to use. That whole incident, and I'm going to go ahead and paraphrase it, so excuse my language ahead of time. That whole phrase of grab him by the pussy, I think that's what he really thinks of women. I really do. And the fact that a good percentage of his votes came from women in general, but especially white women, that's very telling. And that's also why he feels the way he feels. But getting back to Chrisette Michele, I'm not buying it. And really, you even responding to this, you're just pouring more gasoline on the fire. At this point, it's best for her to sit down. Well, not sit down necessarily, but just shut up. Let the criticism die down, and you just do you at this point. And I'm not even talking as a black man. I'm talking just from a business point of view. Because you already alienated a lot of your core fan base. And that's a number one rule of business when it comes to the entertainment game. In any light. That when it comes to the entertainment game, you never alienate your core audience. You never alienate your core audience because that's a good way to lose money. Anybody that is in entertainment or in business will tell you this. You alienated your core audience, most of whom do not like Donald Trump. I mean, if it was just about point of views, that would be one thing. But this, I gotta say it, you're soft shoeing Coonan. I mean, you're not David Clark level or Stephen A. Smith level or somebody like that, or even Stacey Dash level, which, by the way, on a side note, I see where Stacey Dash pretty much was given the pink slip from Fox News, so ta-ta for her, ta-ta, too bad for her. But get back to Chrisette Michele. At this point, the best thing for you to do is just keep your mouth shut and better hope that tour of yours goes well without much incident. Because right now, people are giving you the side eye. And for all the black people that supported you, that will turn their backs on you, and everything, you better hope that mainstream audience or some of those Trump supporters, which they probably won't, but you better hope some of them get behind. This isn't, I mean, you're not Beyonce or you're not even Rihanna. Now, if they would have done this, yes, they would have gotten some backlash too. But they probably could have took the hit. You ain't that big to take that kind of hit. But we'll see what happens. But this whole response to it, at this point, she just better off just keeping her mouth shut. And that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, if you like this podcast, go to Spreaker.com, look up the Irvin V. Griffin Jr. profile. I got Old School Jams, Irv Griffin Smooth Groove, and of course the Irvin V. Griffin Jr. podcast, where I talk about a variety of subjects. And I'm out.